Not every visitor to Rome is a tourist. Rome is also the destination for thousands of immigrants every year. Some enter with a visa, some don't. Imran Tarakai fled Afghanistan almost 3 years ago. It took him 7 months and around $9,000 to reach Italy as an illegal immigrant. As soon as he entered the country, he was arrested and detained, and it took him nearly 8 months to get a refugee visa to have the possibility to work. He now works as a cultural mediator and translator for the many Afghani refugees living on the streets of Rome.
I know their problem. They have someone killed their parents and they are alone. They are under the control of other people like uncle, like other people. So they are not free. And they want to come here, they escape. And they just heard it's Europe. They don't have home. You know, they live outside the road. And like sometimes they have blankets, sometimes no. It's very difficult in the cold. It's now in these conditions. So the main point is this: their health problem. Everyone is scratching like this, health injured. They don't have medicine.
Media interest was sparked recently when dozens of Afghani children were found sleeping around the Ostiense station in Rome. They were all under 18 and all travelling alone, part of the rising tide of minors entering Italy.
In the case of the Afghan children that were found, but there are so many other cases of similar situations actually in other places in Italy. We believe, of course, that they are very vulnerable, and we are concerned that they might enter like the trafficking cycle, or they might be exploited. Some of them are traumatized. Some of them instead react to their situation. Some of them leave it as a temporary situation. So it's sort of, they believe they are in transit and that they are willing to reach another destination.
Child welfare workers say that children entering Italy illegally are not given sufficient information about their rights and the services available to them, and many finish living on the street, even though Italy's laws give them the right to shelter and medical care. Save the Children estimates that around 8,000 unaccompanied minors are living in Italy, some en route to other northern European countries like Sweden, and some destined to remain in Italy. It's a number that's tripled over the last few years. Behind me you can see where the children were found here at the station of Ostiense in Rome. It's clearly evident the drains where they were keeping their clothing, and you can also see some pieces of cardboard that have been used and are probably still being used as mattresses to sleep here in the open, right next to a structure that's an abandoned terminal that should have been connecting the airport to the station of Ostiense and is now completely empty. Non-government organisation Doctors for Human Rights runs a mobile medical service for homeless people since 2007 around the station. Coordinator Alberto Barbieri says that 95% of the people they see are Afghanis and a quarter under the age of 18.
They're escaping from war, and in many cases they are asylum seekers. People who are surviving a situation. They are sleeping in sanitary and hygienic situations that are very precarious. In winter and in summer, sleeping on the streets with a cardboard or plastic sheets as a cover, and sometimes nothing, with no hygienic facilities and no essential facilities.
Shelters and assistance services are unable to cope with the numbers of people in need. One of Dr. Barbieri's visitors to the mobile medical unit had a hip operation only 2 months ago, and he's walking with crutches. He is sleeping rough, despite his conditions. Others have waited over a year for a bed. Here at the Caritas hostel in Rome, 600 meals are served a day, and the line to get a place at the table speaks for itself. Italy has become the 4th most sought-after destination for asylum seekers in the world, receiving over 31,000 requests last year. Social workers say more services are needed for the most vulnerable.
We need to invest in small structures that privilege unaccompanied minors and women that have experienced violence and women on their own with children.
Immigration has been hotly debated in Italy recently, with a series of new laws on the table. The government, led by right-wing faction the Northern League, has proposed a series of strong-arm measures in an attempt to discourage clandestine immigrants. One of the most controversial is a law that obliges doctors to report irregular immigrants to the authorities when they present for treatment at hospitals. Doctors and healthcare workers have condemned the proposal.
It happens that the irregular immigrant calls the Caritas service to ask if they can access the health service, and the operator sometimes finds themselves in the embarrassing situation of not knowing whether it's changed from yesterday. And this goes some way to illustrate the climate of insecurity that we would like to change as soon as possible.
If this amendment was to go through, it would have terrible consequences. The irregular immigrant would not go to get healthcare, and the consequences would be for all the population, and not because they are immigrants, but because it would be a group at risk of spreading disease. There are no barriers on the bus.
Migrant community representatives say the issue needs to be confronted at all levels.
Arrival centres have become identification and expulsion centres, particularly for illegal immigrants. We need to look at the origin of the problem, the countries of the origin and the countries of destination, the media. We all have responsibilities towards these children and the clandestine immigrants.
A recent survey for the Interior Ministry shows that most Italians are not worried about immigration. Many see migrants as necessary to the economic future of the country. Most Italians are much more worried about losing their jobs and making it to the end of the month. Yet the political hot potato of illegal immigration continues to be passed around the Parliament, with little consensus and few practical solutions being proposed. Despite the risks and the often frequent fatalities, migrants continue to come into the country one way or another. One thing is for sure, Italy's immigration problems are not going anywhere anytime soon. Lee Ardendorf, Press TV, Rome.